Come join the movement, let's take AI to the next level. We're breaking barriers, rewriting the code. Together we'll conquer, watch our ideas unfold. The future starts here, joining the revolution. Let's say our podcast, the ultimate solution.
All right. I hope they like the look of my desktop there, Carrie, before we got the show rolling. My name is Leland Best, host of Best AI Podcast with my friend Carrie Taylor from Sekou Designs in the house today. This is episode 33 and likely our final episode for season 2. We don't really season out these episodes as much as what you might think, but we tend to do around 15 to 20 episodes per season here at Best Live TV. So when it comes to Best AI TV, which is kind of being broadcast just to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, which I want to welcome anyone who is watching out there today. So, Kyrie, what's going on in your world? I'm just kind of getting ready for the next season and the next quarter. How about you?
Yeah, I think as we close out this first quarter, we've been evaluating some, analytics and things like that as it relates to what we're doing inside the business and then just also evaluating some of our tech stack, making sure everything aligns and is worth the investment that we have put into it. And then also considering different areas where we may niche down a little bit further. So, as it relates to like businesses at large, that's where it is. I'm actually very close to launching my personal brand AI Sensei training situation where I'm kind of like
Nice.
getting people on board with AI and how to leverage it. I find the biggest point of contention. There's this huge, and it's weird because we're in this space every day. There's this huge conglomerate of people who know the term AI, but and they want to use it but they don't know where to start, and essentially that's what I'm focusing on the initial push. I have people that I have under my tutelage already that are more advanced, so we do like networking and
Mhm.
advanced prompt engineering and things like that. But this is for the people who, they don't know where to start. They don't know how it applies to them, and not necessarily just in business, but in life as a whole. Like, how can it help them do and make decisions and look at the data? But yeah, that's essentially what we got going on. Just, head down, grinding out pretty much.
No, I get it, and that's kind of where we're at. We've taken a deep dive for a while into the LLM models and just kind of playing, testing, and utilizing and creating and things like that over the last several years now. I mean, 3 years for me that I've been involved with AI and at least creating content since it was really made available to the public. But at first, it was kind of I don't know. It was a little scary at first. I think even for me, just knowing what to do. What are you supposed to do with this beast that they call artificial intelligence? Is it smarter than me? Is it dumber than me? Do I have to teach it? Am I going to learn from it? All these things we were facing as the new tech was being displayed openly for everybody to learn. But I think a lot of people failed that first step, which was the learning part.
Yeah.
And they just kind of went, nah, we're not ready for this. But already in 3 years, look where we're at. I mean, we've got enterprises dumping millions, billions, all kinds of money into this thing just to build server farms and train AI agents now to the point where they want autonomous, self-training, self-correcting, processes. That's really what we're looking at. So, can we do that even now as, the one-off business owner, expect to go out and just buy one app that solves all our problems? That's what I think a lot of people think is happening. But what's been your experience even just in that, building your own little, niche corner of the AI world? What hurdles did you run into the most while you were building that? Was it just framework, or was it the evolution of the processing, or what did you see as the biggest hurdle?
I think the biggest hurdle is how unpredictable it can be, right? And that means from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, right? Like I can, and then with that, the benefit and the oxymoron-ish caveat of having multiple LLMs that you work with, right?
I agree.
So when you have the different models and then you have the different companies that have different models within the company, identifying and be able to, hone in on what you need to use when can be extremely difficult for, the average person, let alone somebody who's more well versed into what the strengths of each one might be. But I
Yeah.
think what's even more interesting is that all of these companies are constantly changing and updating things. And they're playing, they have this keep up with the Joneses mentality and things like that, where it's like, okay, this company's doing this. Well, let me do something like this. Oh, I've got this in my back pocket. And that just changes how you use the tools a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, and you look at the last 3 weeks, just the fact that ChatGPT released their image generation has changed so many businesses' workflows as it relates to how they do and use images in their posting or management or even just collateral, right? So it is interesting. I think that's the biggest hurdle is, and I think that leans into the ebbs and flows of how much it changes on a consistent basis. It can be difficult to keep up with, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And that's like I was looking at, I don't know if you're a part of Justin Mass's AI for Entrepreneurs Facebook group.
Yeah, I'm in there. Yep.
Did you see the tech stack he posted as a just a reference tool for people who've been asking him? It's like, what do you use? What do you use? What do you use? And he keeps he was just kind of stalling as to how he would answer that. But I grabbed the post the other day and I just want to walk through it for just a moment. I'll even show it on the screen. I'm sure Jonathan won't mind because he was well, maybe he would. I'm going to kind of walk through this because it is a Facebook group that you have to become a member of.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say.
go search for Jonathan Mast at AI for Entrepreneurs. But what I want to mention is kind of just I'm going to talk through some of the stuff he posted in there. What it was which AI models am I using in April 2025? Because a gentleman by the name of Frank Lugenheim asked him this and kept inspiring this post. And so he's going to be doing a live training. Actually, he did it Monday, I believe, 2 p.m. Eastern. So there may still be registrations for that and on his end. But he has recently distilled, it's what we use the term a lot in this arena, is to always just kind of honing down, refining, getting things down to its core elements. So he has basically distilled his AI toolkit. He said he was running like 20 plus apps and tabs and stuff all at the same time, trying to do all this stuff. He's really into generating graphical content,
Mhm.
documents, reports, analysis, stuff like that. So he was using GPT for 70% of all his prompts. 90% of his GPT use was based on the custom GPTs he built himself. And that's his count was over 200 and growing. Okay. Even for me, I don't see myself utilizing 200 GPTs to get my job done. That blows my mind that somebody's actually accessing 200 different GPTs inside. So he has a daily rotation where he pulls out 12 of these at a day for creating SOPs, brainstorming, whatever he's doing. And then he says he uses Google Gemini 2.5 and Deep Research, Notebook LLM, Claude, Perplexity Pro, Grok 3, and he has an image generation pipeline. He uses some other apps like AI note takers, like Read AI, and just some other free stuff that's out there, like Mistral, DeepSeek, all the stuff that we mention all the time when it comes to open source. But his cost factor was like in the hundreds of dollars per month is what he was spending. I'm not going to give a figure, obviously, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, I think I spend like 20, 30 bucks a month on AI right now. And that's it. But I'm fortunate. I did manage to go maybe against the grain of some and went and found, lifetime deals on some stuff ahead of time before they were made public. Didn't buy into the $20 a month stuff at all. I never did. I use credited AI apps that I build credits over time and I just use the credits. Or I use my own build locally and just create content that way. Or like Focus, is a build off stability that we use. So, like, what are you looking at for Q2? Are you going to have this huge AI bill every month that you're going to have to pay on, Curry? Or do you
That
host a
is
lot of the stuff?
that is definitely part of what we're making decisions on.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
and that comes into the conversation and the decisions around niching down, right? Because the more you niche down, the more bespoke your solution is to your actual business and business model. You can identify what is essential and what's kind of like dead weight, right?
Hmm.
So when you look at places like AppSumo, right? I look at it the way they have leaned into this try before you buy or try after you buy, and then maybe you don't like it. They have for most of their like really good deals, they have that 60-day try it or return it type deal, and a lot of people use that to get hands on and touch and feel a product to see if it's actually going to work for them, and then they have that opportunity to go back. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in that space where it's like, okay, what I have always, I've run my business up until probably the last 5 years with zero, as close
Oh
to
yeah,
zero overhead as possible.
yeah. That's what I shoot for all the time.
And it's because of the nature of my business, right? Because I'm traditionally a graphic designer, web designer, web developer, all that stuff's local,
Yeah.
right? So it's one of those things where it's like I don't have a bunch of overhead outside of like hosting fees. If I'm hosting websites for clients and things like that, like those kinds of things, sure. Registrar fees, you know what I mean?
That's minimal.
But
That's little stuff
but yeah,
nowadays.
it's super small. So it's like I'm at that point now. I can tell you, like I think I talked about this last episode that I've spent way more on my business from a software stack standpoint
Yeah.
over the last year or two than I have in the previous 10 years,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, I know.
Combined, just because of the fact that there's things that are so moving so fast that you need to be able to touch and feel certain things. And sometimes you got to pay to play. And as much as I'm against that ideology, that's kind of like the way it's going. This is the reason why every LLM has a $20 model and now a $200 model, right?
Yeah, that's one I won't touch. I won't touch a $200 model. I just won't. I don't see, to me, there's not enough value return for me personally. Now, if I were to look at an enterprise client that was, producing reports, sales reports, venture,
Right.
you name it. You get into numbers and accounting and things of that nature. Yeah, I could see somebody spending that kind of money. I still wouldn't trust AI with my accounting at this point. I'm
Yeah.
just not going to. It's not good enough at math in some cases. It's also just not the place I want, AI snooping around yet in my business. I'm not
Yeah.
ready to give it my dollars. And a lot of
Yeah.
people are. And that's fine. If you've built an in-house solution where you're maintaining the entire infrastructure, then that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But with the way, data gets pushed around in the sales markets as to how much is, too much, and how much data are you going to pay for, and how much shouldn't you be buying in the first place.
Yeah. And then you've
There's
you've
just
got the fine print of the application you're putting this
yeah,
information into, right? Like
yeah,
it's like the way people get super crazy about uploading pictures to Facebook. Like, Facebook can use that for whatever they want. It's like, yeah, same thing with pretty much every other thing. It's a part of the onboarding process, right? They give you the legalese that covers them, and you're not really considered in what you need to be covered on. That's your responsibility, not theirs, right?
yeah, exactly.
Um, but I agree with you, man. I think as it relates to like having a higher overhead subscription model, it makes sense when the residuals are there to cover that cost, right?
Yep.
If I am in a legal space and I'm using AI to, service my clients and I'm on a 1,500 per month retainer for 10 clients, $200 a month's not that big a deal, right? But um I agree with
But
you also as it relates to the the human checkpoints that are needed
yeah,
for AI in the workflow of what goes out. Like I don't even trust AI to a certain extent for sending meeting summaries without me putting eyes on it first.
oh yeah, yeah. I've seen those. I've seen some of them where they focus on the wrong content in the
Yeah.
meeting. There might have
Yeah.
been some personal comments made during the meeting.
100%.
It's like it grabs right onto that one section you didn't want to talk about after the meeting was
Yes,
over.
Kyrie and
Because
Leland talked about
yeah.
getting their dog neutered or something like it's like
Oh
it
yeah,
it
it
just it's
happens.
content. It takes the content and it formulates it, but it doesn't it's there are some that have the logic base to kind of weed
Yeah.
through some of that, but it's ad hoc and you have to have the human element similar to training even a custom GPT to write emails for you.
Mhm.
You still got to make sure that it's on point because it's going to hallucinate. That's the
Oh,
one thing
for
people forget
sure.
about. They hallucinate, whether it doesn't matter how great you train it, at some point there's going to be some level of deviation, at least in the current landscape, right? Like, could that be fixed later? Sure. But as it is right
Yep.
now,
It's funny you mention that because I was just working on a cold email campaign similar to what Ross and I were working on before, where it's quite a setup. You know, when you get into it, really. Let me see if I can mention the fact. I got some prompting here that I was doing yesterday inside the flow. So let me just bring that over for a second. Just to give you an idea what Kyrie's talking about here when it comes to setting guardrails on an AI element. We have a component here, which you may or may not be able to see real well. I probably can't zoom in on this that great, but the idea behind just crafting the email, and I break my emails up into sections like headers and salutations and email body and such, but that comes down the path when we create our first email, which is email one here, which is a value driven introduction. We're using content from a form that the person submitted based on a lot of elements, or a lead that comes in tagged with 70 different, data metrics attached to it. So we have it utilize that, and then we start assigning, personal interests and hobbies from that data to the AI to recognize as each lead comes in, and then associate that data with the content that it's producing. So this is the type of prompt I need to generate just to generate one email with AI and make sure that it's not going off the rails when we're submitting content. So when I run this, it's going to generate a very unique and individually personalized email for each client that comes through the window. But what can happen in this area here, like Kyrie said, the email body, I'm relying on AI to take advantage of its context and come up with a really good sales letter, basically is what I'm asking it to do. And the hopes are that it doesn't tell a retiree that it's great to be 25 again, or tell a 30-year-old that, I know you're coming to the end of your life kind of attitude, and you probably gathered all your riches. Now it's time for you to consider, what are you going to do for your mortgage protection in your life when, your family, when you pass on. And the guy on the other end of the email is like, dude, I'm 32. What are you talking about? So you
what do you
don't
know that I
want
don't
that.
know?
Yeah, you don't want that to happen during the process. So yeah, it's a difficult strategy, and that's one of the things that's pulling us away, honestly, in some regards, from agentive AI at this time, because it's
Yeah.
not fully reliable. It's just not. And it's
Yeah.
sexy, it's fancy, it's cool, but and for personalized use, I think it's fantastic. If you have your own little Jarvis sitting at home where you've built your AI up and you have it all trained on you and your business and your lifestyle, your kids, your family, you name it, add everything in there you want to it. You've got a true assistant, a true, really
Yeah.
smarter than you assistant. So I'm looking forward to building those for people, and really just really strong AI driven workflows that are solid in the cloud, that are reliable and work 100% of the time.
Yeah, I think that is exactly kind of like where we are.
Mhm.
It's a nice idea to think that implementing agentic flows into a business is a point and click solution. That the level of granularity that's needed is not as much, but that's just not the case. But I agree with you. I think I find much more utility in leveraging these things to automate my own internal daily processes. If we go back to Jonathan's example, right? Um, there are systems and agentic, solutions that would allow you to automate daily routines with the point and click functionality, right? Like I do this every morning at from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. This is what I'm doing. You can have that get recorded by an AI agent and have it rinse and repeat it on a regular basis. Those kinds of things are here, right? But the general being able to have that level of accessibility, the way that you can now just go create an open AI account and start talking to ChatGPT, we're a bit away from that currently.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree. So I wanted to kind of spin off, and I'm glad you mentioned it in that fashion because one thing that was really cool about meeting with Ray last night, which we do a podcast at 9 p.m. on Tuesday nights, So that's me here in Michigan meeting with Beijing, China, where Ray Lewan sits peacefully with his crew developing both New Oaks AI and Easy Site. And we went into this last night, which again, we're talking about using AI to become productive and use it in a fashion that generates on a consistent level, whatever that might be. One of the things that obviously is growing over time is vibe coding. And if you're unfamiliar with the term vibe coding, you can Google search it and it should show up for you. It's basically taking single or simple verbal commands, contextual commands, and sending them to an AI to have them perform a task and finalize the task. And especially in this case, it's building a website, building a dashboard, building a application, building a game, whatever you want to build with this. It's pretty amazing what it's capable of. So yesterday I clicked this button, SaaS website for startup. And that was literally the text that I put in here was a one sentence. And I'll show you the project that it developed. This is the SaaS landing page that I clicked on. And this is what it made. So the command was literally up here, create a professional landing page for SaaS startup with techie theme and vivid color. Okay. And this is what I received in return from that single command. And you can see it's got some really cool gradient type text. It's got the pricing tables and everything all set up. The FAQ is set up. The testimonials is set up. And it's a straight down web, landing page type format. I think it's beautiful. I think it's technically superior to the one I have in place right now to one that I've built recently. All of the stuff is here and tabbed in the menu, so it's ready to go. The code is sitting here in a stack of components for all of the JavaScript, all the CSS, the index HTML pages here. So you can download it and just take it and put it on your own host. The other beauty of it is you can come in here and edit the code if you wanted to with a built-in code editor that works really well in blocking out the content structure, which I thought was amazing. Ray and I were talking about that last night. Or as a click and point editor, where you come in here and actually click on the elements, or in this case here where I have a logo, if you look back at the commands, I said replace the logo with a flying kite image. Well, I was able to actually generate an image within the system. That is another thing you can do within this, is it has its own asset structure where you can add videos, images, and others. So if I go to add an image, I can actually let it generate one for me on the fly, or upload one, or just use a sticker. Okay, I thought that was pretty slick. But he's also added custom knowledge that you can add all about whatever it is you're building on the back end. It also allows you to instantly connect either an Easy Site database, a Supabase database, or go ahead and fill in your own, which might be Postgres, MySQL, Microsoft SQL. And now he's generating reports through this as well from your database so that you get reports on how well the site's working. And I'm just blown away, honestly, as to how simple this works and how easy you can manage the documents and how easy you can just tell it to do something. And it goes through the steps on reiterating and reworking the website all over again. Excuse me. And I was just blown away at what he's able to do right now. So if you want to go take a look at this before they wrap up over on Product Hunt, Ray was able to hit #1. He's looking for reviews, both there and on G2. So let me just make some comments. What do you think about vibe coding? And then we'll, because I know you got a hard out here, Ray, if I'm right.
Yeah.
You got to be out of here in like 2 minutes.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's important to understand
vibe coding. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have much experience in actually leveraging it outside of like kicking tires on things, right? So,
Okay.
but I have used it, right? And I think this is if we rewind 6 months, mind you, vibe coding was a thing 6 months ago. It just wasn't as easily accessible, right? It also wasn't as good as it is now.
No.
But we had conversations, and I've had conversations where it's like, hey, back then you needed to know how to structure, just like you have to know how to structure a prompt to get the right result. You had to know how to prompt the vibe coding engine and have a certain level of technical know-how and terminology to be able to give it the right thing, right?
Yes.
I want this framework. I want to use SAS. I want to use this. I want to use CSS. I want to use, you know, vanilla JavaScript versus jQuery.
Yeah, you
Not
had to
knowing these
know
kinds of things, you
website
had to know
elements.
what to say.
Yes.
And
Yep.
back then, my thing was we are very close to someone just knowing, have an idea of what they want and being able to verbally speak it to an LLM or a solution and it interpret that and output exactly or 99% of what it is that they thought that they wanted based
Yep.
off it knowing what how to translate that. So me being who I am as the tech person in a lot of my teams, I was always that driver. I was always the
Yeah.
one who was like, hey, so and it's one of those things that you learn as an entrepreneur when you're dealing with clients. It's like, okay, I'm my job is to pull out of you the things you don't know that you want,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Agreed.
This is what we're talking about here. So I think that is huge. So when we talk about agentic flows and things like that, we're definitely speeding towards that. And this is a big piece of it. And when you put in those MCP models to leverage it in the different areas and how you can plug it in here and plug it in there in different infrastructures and the continuity is just going to get better and better. So imagine like, you know, a year from now, 6 months from now, never mind a year from now.
That's what I'm
But yeah,
saying.
it's cool. It's I mean, it's essentially it's not really about syntax anymore, right? It's about setting the stage for your brain to dance with the code. And that's essentially what it is. So if you can think it up and effectively articulate what you want as an end result, you don't need to know the in between, you know. And then I love the fact that they're calling it vibe coding because it's like when the space vibes right, you know, the
Hmm.
logic flows right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's very exciting. It's super interesting. A little, it's forcing me outside of my comfort zone because I'm pretty much a control freak when it comes to code and
yeah.
design. And it's one of those things where it's like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to website development and things like that. And there are multiple times in my career where I've had to step away from that. Like, hey, they don't need it perfect. They just want something to be there, right? The perfect website versus the website that just is going to facilitate having a website and give the information that it needs to.
Yeah, I made a call about two or almost 3 years ago now where I said Web3 was going to be basically the chatbot at the time because I felt that websites in general were just too bulky, too overstacked. There's too much data for one individual to even maintain an interest in, but it has a place. It's a knowledge base. If the bigger
Yeah.
the knowledge base on a website, the better one AI works on that website. And then you also have that ability to just streamline all that down to something that people can really access efficiently, like a landing page or a simple chatbot where somebody just gets the information they need immediately and then they walk away and they get done on with their job. So to get you out of here, I know you've got a hard stop, Kari. What I just wanted to mention about vibe coding before we leave is there's three pillars to consider when you're working in vibe coding. Be precise, be well organized, and be patient. And what I mean by that is to be precise is one task at a time. Break down the complex jobs into smaller tasks. Get well detailed prompts while you're working, but don't overdo it. Let the AI have some creative license because that's how it works best in this space. Being well organized, add features step by step, test after each edition or iteration, and use clean sessions for each test. So start on a fresh build to build a separate component. And then learn the components of your app. Review and understand, say, Easy Sites Output or any other similar site that's out there doing the same thing, and expect to debug because it's part of the process. All right. Anything you want to close with,
This is
Kyrie?
it.
We'll let you get out of here because we're going to close early and we're going to wrap up the format a little different for next time around. But I'm having fun with Kyrie, so we're going to keep broadcasting on Wednesdays. Just might not just be news. We might start actually asking you guys what you need built. I'll start building it for you. What do you got, Kyrie? Let's get us out of here.
Yeah, man, I think you know, it's an exciting time. Um, and I think the sentiment I'm seeing across the landscape is very simply that everybody is reevaluating everything
Yep.
because
So
of the
Q,
advancements.
yeah, it's coming so fast that we need to stop and take a breath and say, okay,
100%.
which part do we really want to focus on now? So think about that going into Q2. Stop by next Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time for the period where you can find us at Best AI Podcast on Best AI TV. Take care, Curry. We'll see you next time. Appreciate all your time.
All right, y'all.
All right, we're out of here.
Digital age. we're breaking the mold. With AI fusion, let the story unfold. From love to business, the future is here. Unlock the potential, make it crystal clear. It's time to fuse, let the sparks ignite. AI in action, reaching new heights. Love and business blending into one.